Hello, everyone. As Piotr mentioned, I'm the CEO of Cyber Made in Poland cluster, which are co-organizer of this event. Hope you are well rested after the first day of our event. And today, our panel discussion is From Innovation to Impact, Accelerating European Cybersecurity Startups Through Collaboration. What does it mean, basically? That we will be discussing, of course, startups, innovations, financing the startups, collaboration, mostly focusing on the European Union for sure. And what is unique about our panel, we have a great experts here from different perspectives. So if someone is interested to hear from perspectives from startups, from venture capitals, from young companies, from well-developed companies, from institutions supporting the growth of the cybersecurity startups in Poland and the European Union, this is panel for you. And we have, let's say, we'll explore what makes cybersecurity innovation work and what holds it back. And we hear from, and I will introduce once again our guests, from founders navigating early growth is represented by Antoni Omondi, CEO and founder of Sagenso company, cybersecurity startup straight from Poland. We have investors backing the next generation of the cyber technologies represented by Carlos Moreira da Silva, 33 and Ventures, and Karel Obluk, Evolution Equity Partners. And we have leaders of established company expanding into international markets, Robert Posłajko, Accents. And of course, last but not least, we have a representative of institutions supporting the global visibility of Polish companies, which means Jan Popławski, Polish Investment and Trade Agency. Okay, let's start our discussions. So to give you maybe a context of what the cybersecurity startups market or the cybersecurity market looks like in the Poland and European Union, I will start, Carlos, with you. We had a lot of discussions about how to improve the visibility, scalability of cybersecurity startups in the EU. So question to you, as a VC focus on the cybersecurity and defense, how do you evaluate the investments potential of Europe's deep tech sector? And of course, I need to say that compare it to the US and Israel.
Hello. So good morning, everyone, and thanks for the invite and for having me here. So a lot has evolved in the last years, right? And I need to remind probably some people that Linux, one of the fundamental bases of software infrastructure, was invented in Europe, right? And so we need to get to the same relevance of getting technology, relevant technology, to the world as we did in the past. And for sure, we have great technical talent in Europe, right? For sure. And we are seeing that every day across several countries. And I believe we know that. We are also seeing that there is an increased drive to get that innovation to use cases that are relevant for the industry. And that drive comes from regulation, right? But not only. It is also coming from concrete needs. And I can be talking about defense, and I believe everyone now is very aware of those use cases. But we have also been seeing critical industries pushing for quite advanced solutions. So not just buying from traditional vendors. We are seeing financial institutions across Europe also pushing for that. So drive is here. In terms of bringing those technologies to market, what we've seen 3-5 years ago was that those technologies were coming 3-5 years later than in other markets. But now it's not the case, right? Now, what we are seeing in emerging segments is that Europe is bringing competitive startups at the same time of other markets. More, we already have a significant base of second-time founders that know how to scale those companies. we have an early stage base of VC investors, right? So it's not like, again, some years ago, where most investors were generalistic. Now you have specialized investors in cyber on the early stages, able to support those founders. So we are in a much different situation compared to US and Israel than we were some years ago. What's still holding us back? It's fragmentation, right? And we'll be able to speak about that. How to scale a business still from one country to the other so it can get to a critical size and then it can go to other markets. That's for sure one of the subjects.
So do you agree that, let's say, in terms of the geopolitical, let's say, situation, we are in the best situation as the European market in the history, that this is the historical moment that we need to boost up the European cybersecurity market because we won't have a chance in the future?
For sure, it's not just because we need to be protected, because I think now people are totally aware of that need. It's because cyber is also an enabler for technology adoption. And if now organizations are considering to adopt AI technologies, they are also trying to understand how can they adopt it in a secure way, in a trusted way from the beginning. So we really need to be on the forefront of all of that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Carlos. Okay, let's switch the perspective because you heard the perspective of venture capital specialized in the cybersecurity. Now I'll switch to you, Anthony, since you are the founder of the cybersecurity startup Sagenso. So I'm very interested about your opinion. What were the biggest challenges that you faced while building Sagenso and as a cybersecurity startup? Especially when it came to finding funding, basically, because that's one of our topics here, validating the product, entering the market. What was your biggest challenges, if you could share us your history?
Okay, thank you for the question. Thank you for opportunity to be here today and to speak. Yeah, running a startup is a challenge itself. So I think that won't be a problem to answer the question. But relating to the cybersecurity, I think that today's panel and even presence of two representatives of VCs that are outside from Poland, outside from our region, it's a very big difference versus like 2, 3, or 5 years ago. And because we are a young company that right now working mainly with medium-sized companies, but also shifting a little bit to bigger and enterprise companies. But what was the challenge when we were raising money for first our product and VP here locally in Poland and our close region was that there was not a lot of knowledge and experience how to run cybersecurity companies. So it wasn't very hard to raise money, but to raise a smart money in cybersecurity industry was extremely, maybe not hard, but there was not such money. Yeah? So our first 1 or 2 years, we were like developing a company with support of some financial institutions, European grants, but it was a very big challenge to have some network or support from experienced companies. I'm talking about, at least European level companies or entrepreneurs who would support us, direct us a little bit. We were like first time funder. So of course, right now it would be much more easy taking the experience from past couple of years. But I think that once again, having like the VCs that 3 or 4 years ago, we had to approach by ourselves, searching for different events around Europe, and also getting some interest from our present investors or for some maybe business angels who start working with us was much harder than right now here. And also the difference was that the VC or investor who is not from the cybersecurity industry, very often they ask us, okay, so what is the innovation of our product, of our company? And investors from cybersecurity industry, they are asking, okay, what problem we are solving? Yeah, so this is also something much different because it's much easier to to describe, to show what we are doing, to show our vision to someone who understands the market, who understands the problems. Yeah, we can focus on how we want to get there, not what we are doing and explaining what cybersecurity is about, what problems are right now, what maybe problems will be in the future. So I think that one of the challenge was not the lack of the money, but lack of the expertise here in our local, not only Poland, but I think that Czech, Slovakia, we are operating on this market also. So that was challenging. The second one, I think, is okay when we have like the product, when we have the technology, or we have the service, we have to commercialize it. Yeah. So also challenging in cybersecurity area is that we have a trust from our potential partners. Yeah. So being like when we are backed up by entrepreneurs, by institutions, by companies that already had a presence or had experience in cybersecurity, in delivering cybersecurity solution, is also much more easier right now. When we have like first bigger clients onboarded, some enterprise references from brands that are recognizable around Europe and around the world, is much easier. But at the beginning was a lot of building the trust and fighting about not money, but trying to convincing the companies, the potential client, that okay, we are a partner and we can solve their solutions, their problems with a good solution. So I think that those two things, trust and expertise, here was like the biggest challenge year and 2 years ago.
Yeah, thank you very much, Anthony, from your perspective. So maybe let's switch up to the VC once again. Now, Karel, a question to you. Because I bet that some people on the audience may be representing cybersecurity startups, or maybe considering to establish cybersecurity startups. You have a significant experience working with them around Europe, around the world, basically, as a VC. So from your perspective as an investor, what are the most critical factors when you evaluating cybersecurity startups? And how does cyber differ from other deep tech areas that you maybe had the opportunity to work with?
Yep, thanks. So I'll start from the back. How is it different? Cybersecurity is different in that security is actually a very broad term, very broad area. And so developing cybersecurity products or security products means you might be covering many different use cases, many areas, many segments, whether it is securing infrastructure, critical infrastructure, whether it is defense, whether it is securing personal data, consumers, securing enterprise systems, all that. I mean, the rise of artificial intelligence means not only that we can use artificial intelligence for cybersecurity, but we also have to secure artificial intelligence so that the attackers do not attack the systems, so that they do not manipulate them, etc., etc. So lots of opportunities, and that's the advantage. That there is no shortcoming of ideas of what should be secured. It's more about the cat and mouse game, so to speak, when you have to fight the threats and you have to fight the attackers, and there is definitely not shortage for technology or people from technology with technology expertise. They definitely, all of them will find their space if they want to, if they decide to go into cybersecurity. And that's what makes cybersecurity for us as a fund also interesting. So that's our specialty. We are the largest cybersecurity specific VC globally. So that's that perspective. Now, when I look at how things have developed, even in Europe, I think others have mentioned also the second-time founders obviously have advantage of being there. They now know what to do, etc. So many people now help build successful companies, globally successful companies, coming back, launching startups again, launching new companies. They have much more experience. It's just significantly improving. Not everywhere, not everybody, but it is improving. And the fact that there are more expats who sold their companies to the UK, US, you name it, had their experience building global companies. They now came back and are launching new businesses. They can provide the advice. They can provide mentoring. They can actually help with network, also introductions in the US, etc. And they bring one other aspect that has been very often missing and still might be missing a little bit in Europe, and that is global ambitions. I mean, if you look at Poland, it's a big market, but compared to the US, it's very small. Europe as a whole is a big market, but as Carlos said, it is very fragmented. So that's the disadvantage and advantage of startups in Europe, coming from Europe. If you come from Poland or from Germany or from France, you might consider your market, your local market, big enough, but it's not big enough. But it might be big enough for you to launch a decent business, but the ambition to build something global, that's very important. And that's where successful entrepreneurs actually help as well, because they play the example, the role models, so to speak, and others might want to build large businesses that do not limit themselves to a single European country only, a single market within Europe, but looking at whole Europe and then later on looking at the whole, I mean, North America and globally. So that's been changing, and I think it's improving significantly.
So your advice would be, let's say, go global from the very beginning if you want to establish a startup.
Not necessarily go global, but have the ambition to become global. So you have to first secure your spot where you come from, start with the basics, but then, yes, have a global ambition and do not stop at your local market level.
Yeah, thank you very much, Karel. Let's stay with the topic of internationalization, going global. Robert, over to you, because you are representing Accents, which is a very well-established, very well-known company in Poland. Actually, you have 20th anniversary, so 20 years on the Polish market. You start from the 20 years from scratch. You don't have any VC backed, so you have a very, very unique perspective and very different perspective that the other companies. And I'm very curious about, let's say, considering your journey, what you can share your experience with cybersecurity startups, let's say. So what do you see the most as the critical factors in building a sustainable and scalable, for sure, tech business from the ground, especially when entering international markets?
Thanks for having me here. And referring to that question, at Accents we have grown organically over the years, not by chasing capital, but focusing on customers. And I think this is the most important lesson to be learned by those early stages security founders who wants to go global or build something. Because this is quite often a trap of acknowledging that good technology is enough to be present in various markets. And I would like to refer to that we learned it quite a lot the hard way, that obviously it's not enough, and having a product itself sometimes means nothing, yeah? Because you have to examine different options that lies on the table. For example, if you are addressing your product to mass audience, is it end user focused product, or maybe you are building an MSP platform that requires white labeling? And this is completely different approach. Furthermore, for example, are you building a value-added proposition for the resellers and how they can build a margin on top of your product? And obviously, it's completely differs your cost perspective, the way how you distribute the product to the market. So what Antoni said also is very important, the commercialization part in this perspective. And the knowledge about it, it's not something common and obvious. It is less available, and I'm not neglecting VC because the founding is important for many of those early stage startups, but it should be value added venture capital, meaning that it should go together with a lot of support in terms of commercialization, marketing, business strategy, and the models that are available. Referring to Linux and its success, I believe that it happened only because it has completely different value proposition than Microsoft that was on the market. Microsoft was enterprise model, commercial licensing, versus Linux that was community-backed option with completely open source. So different targets and differently driven towards global expansion. And obviously, each of the startuppers have the same choices ahead. As in Accessly, we learned that, for example, we started with the freemium versions to distribute as largely as possible. But if you choose that option, you need to have very intuitive UI, you need to have very quick deployment and installations, because otherwise it won't work. So you have to make those choices wisely. But later on, for example, you need to switch your strategy, because sometimes it can work on the major market, but it can completely don't work on emerging markets, for example, in Africa, Asia, and so on, when you need to focus more on building strong partnerships, because there the necessity on having someone local is very much more important. And what I say, you need to test, modify, and adapt your strategic all over the time, and not focus only on technology, but very largely on your business model, meaning licensing, distributor, monetization, pricing, policies. And it changes over 20 years, it changes quite a lot. So I can elaborate later on internationalization, but for this moment, I think these are the most important parts.
Yeah, so very important remark to cybersecurity startup founder: do not forget about sales and marketing, because we can focus on technology, of course, but
and
still.
starting with good strategies at the beginning.
Exactly.
Not just selling because you go and we will sell. It doesn't work like that.
And we discuss, and of course, strategy going outside of our, it's a native market. So yeah, I hope you noted that, because if you want to be a cybersecurity startup founder, you have a great remarks here from our guests. Okay, thank you very much, Robert. Jan, over to you. You are representing Polish Investment and Trade Agency. So you are, let's say, supporting startups, not only from, of course, cybersecurity domain, but the whole domain. So you have a quite unique perspective on how cybersecurity, not cybersecurity, sorry, startups have, I don't know, questions. Maybe they have some challenges that came to you and asking you if you can help them with that. So, but as a first step, let's say, what is the role of Polish Investment and Trade Agency in supporting Polish startups in cybersecurity, also on their path to internationalization, because that's core of your organization, and why it's important from the perspective of national institutions like yours?
Thank you for the invitation. At the beginning, maybe what is the Polish Agency of Investments and Trade? First of all, we are a government agency. We supporting companies, Polish entrepreneurs, to go abroad, to conquer the foreign markets. We are a one-stop shop for consultancy on that. For example, we combining the full consultancy how to go abroad, and for Polish companies, we free for taxpayers, Polish taxpayers. And how we supporting the cybersecurity sector, for example, we supporting in market entries. We've got trade offices all globally around the world, 50 offices on 70 markets. That's very good combining experts, 150 experts in our headquarters and globally. We assist with the companies, Polish companies, with market research for regulations. We combining the partners researching. We also combining the information about tenders around the world. That's the information we can bring to the Polish entrepreneurs. But we also cybersecurity sector supporting by visibility and global promotion by, for example, we are on key international tech events like GITEX, Web Summit. We, in this year, will organize a special with Digital Affairs Ministry a special offer for companies on Web Summit. Please watching us on internet and trying to involve on that, because this will be a good opportunity for Polish cybersecurity and companies. Also, we are also on Vivatech, in Cyber, Computex. We provide the Polish startups to being there, but we also cooperation with like with you, with Cyber Made in Poland, with the sector branch, and we good on that. We providing the presence, builds trust and market credibility by being on these events. We also providing the organizing business mission with companies, Polish companies. We are also organizing B2B meetings and a lot of soft landing programs. We connecting to integrators, distributors, and also with the VC on the markets, in foreign markets. We accessing local innovation and as ecosystem abroad as our agency. And we're seeing that the cybersecurity sector is very important. We seeing those word which is the stability on the world, the war, our foreign on the eastern border. We seeing that cybersecurity is strategic for Poland. It's enhance national reputation and resilience of Poland.
Yeah, so this is the great example that we need to cooperate if we want to achieve a success as a market, basically. So of course we are cooperating as a cluster with PAIH, and I think this is the crucial for everyone, for the companies, for the national institutions to have such alliances with industry organization, with companies, with VCs. Okay, let's circle back to the one thing, because I think this is the most crucial thing in terms of answering the questions. What is the biggest challenge for the European cybersecurity market, which means fragmentation? So, Carlos, over to you. Would you say that cross-border cooperation between VCs and national institutions right now in Europe is crucial? And what the best practices did you observe, considering your experience with working on the European market?
Thanks. So first, what do we want to build, right? Are we building local champions, European champions, global champions, right? What do we want to build? And we've touched on many things here that are needed to build successful companies. Technology, experience, network, capital, all of that. If we look to the main hubs as Silicon Valley or Tel Aviv, how can we match the density of contacts, experience, and the firepower in terms of capital that they have? So if we want to build, and we need global champions from Europe, we need to put some things together. Because there's no country in Europe that can match what these hubs have to offer. So we need to act together. And it's not just a sentence, right? And there are some good things that have been done in the last years. Let's look at how the European Cybersecurity Organization has put all countries in Europe collaborating in bringing startups to the knowledge of investors. How they are, and I'm a share, I want to make it clear, I'm also a share at that organization. How have they been pushing for the establishment of a European investment platform that can allow to bring all countries together to push for later stage investment? There are still some things that need to be built. For instance, there is no acceleration program in Europe, because Europe is a very significant market, fragmented, but that means diversity as well. And so, while some countries like to build very innovative things, fashion things like sport cars, others are more strong on planning, on execution. So we can actually leverage all of these to build great companies, but we need to bring this together. And if we look to the incubation program or acceleration programs in Europe, they are mostly still local. We have made a good progress on creating early-stage specialized investors in several countries and regions. We still are missing pan-European specialized sizable investors. So we are actually making a way into that because we believe on that, and Evolution has also made that path a few years ago. But there are still some steps that need to be put together. So one thing is, how can we accelerate these companies, exposing them to design partners, to the several realities of the different countries? The other thing is having more later stage capital, because late stage companies as ourselves, we really like to collaborate with local, more earlier stage and specialized VCs, right? But if we don't have later stage capital in Europe, then it will be difficult for us to provide that kind of growth. Later stage VCs, that can also be close to the local ecosystems, that can attract talent, that can attract knowledge, right? That can foster that collaboration. The other thing is capital allocation. How can it be that right now most incentives for private investors, for pension funds to allocate capital to VC are done at the local level, right? Shouldn't we rethink a bit this? Because otherwise we cannot really take advantage of the full European scale.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So just a few examples.
How to put things together? Like you said, put things together. But in my opinion, let's say in the Europe we have 27 countries, right? So 27 different approaches, different interests, different strategy, and different goals. So how to put things together in your opinion? Is it possible to do that? And what we should do?
First, we should not wait for someone to come and do the things we think are needed, right? And actually, I think that our countries are actually doing a very good job in pushing things to happen, right? Like the cyber investment platform. And so there is room for other countries in Europe to push for other things, right? So we don't need to wait for the European Commission to put everything together. Initiative can also start in some of our countries because it will position them well to be hubs, relevant hubs on this ecosystem. Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a very interesting things will happen in the future. We'll see. Okay, now let's go back to the, let's say, go global strategy, let's say. So I'm very curious about your perspective, guys, Antoni and Robert. So what's your experience entering the international markets? Is it hard? Maybe is it easier for you to sell something outside of the Poland, let's say? How's your strategy as, let's say, startup from your perspective, Antoni, and from your perspective, Robert, as a very well established company? So Antoni, let's start, and then Robert.
So I can confirm what Carlos said, that from my perspective, right now we are cooperating in a couple of local markets like Czech, Slovakia, Hungary, but we expanded there through our current clients. So the process was very easy, and it was just natural, just preparing the company to be ready to cooperate with some foreign market. But on the other hand, we are also started process to expand it, for example, to Spanish market or Italian market, as we did some research and choose those markets as a good next step for us. And the tricky and the hard thing is that we had to start the process of even building a startup, building a brand from the scratch. So find some acceleration programs, find some first partners, and repeat the path that we did already in Poland. Yeah? So if we would have some accelerator, some institutions, even not European funding programs, but some programs that are, let's say, we did have some cross-border pilots or some standardization with the formalization of the cooperation with different companies, it would be much easier, yeah? Because the thing which we did here locally, and it took a lot of time, it's to be repeated on the new market. And we have experience, so it's not a problem that we can do it, but it takes time. In terms of the startup, time is the most costly thing, yeah, because especially when we are before the break-even point, we are always generate some more costs than revenues at the early stage. So every month that we are waiting, for example, there is let's say that we want to issue a proposal that we are waiting for finishing the time for issuing the proposal, then we are waiting for 3 to 6 months to the results of this proposal. Very often first proposal is just only to issue, and then you have to have second to improve it. So it takes months, even quarters and years. And for the startup at the beginning, the runway is 3 to 6 months. Yeah, so we are waiting for some results of proposal much longer. So that's why what Robert said at the earlier stage, we should focus on those revenues from the clients. So money, even not from the investor, but from the potential client, from POC, from first pilot, from some implementation is much more better. And I think that should be approach of the startup and for the accelerators, that we should focus only on technology, that we have to be innovative, like I said before, but we should find like the problem that we are solving, that we are good in solving this problem, and then we are just waiting for some solutions that make it easy to just go abroad. And when we are feeling or having the answer that that our product is fitting to the market, I think that the road should be much faster than it's right now. Yeah. So very often the last thing is that you need to open the subsidiary, for example, in the new market, because you have some limitation of even just starting to be accelerated. I think that it shouldn't be like that, especially when we are talking about the Europe as a one region, not like the 27 micro markets.
So from your perspective, let's say that initiative like, I don't know, cross-border technology hub in cybersecurity or accelerator in cybersecurity could be the answer for your challenges, right? Something like that.
Yes, I think so. That it could be much more effective, and I see that it's starting. Yeah, so it's not like that. It's nothing like now. But 3 years ago, it was much harder to do it. Yeah, so but everything that is that cross-border and from the beginning, from the pilot, from the prospecting, from building the strategy about Robert said, it should be done. I think cross-border. I'm not saying that the all countries, let's say, but maybe some smaller hubs, but not even like the countries that are next to each other, but maybe some from the Western Europe, Eastern Europe, to finding those those differences that are easy to address between those different markets. And we should address it from the beginning.
Yeah, thank you very much, Antoni. Robert, the question to you in terms of the internationalization, same like Antoni. And what I want to add to your question is that we spoke a lot about, let's say, development of the cybersecurity market in Poland. So you have a lot of the experience. You observe what's going on the Polish market. So from your perspective, what we as a whole, as a market, like decision makers, companies, organizations supporting like CyberMade in Poland can do to improve the development of the market?
Okay, this will be a very broad topic, so I will try to summarize in 3 points. 1 point will be what the global expansion is. Secondly, what options we have on the table speaking about the markets. And thirdly, how can we do it together? So at the beginning, quite frequently, if we are speaking about international or global expansion, I ask people, okay, draw me this globe. And on the drawing is US, Israel, UK, Germany. It's not the globe. So we have a very limited perspective on where we can expand internationally as our products. And sometimes we are focusing on the markets which are completely out of our scope, and we shouldn't go there. We shouldn't go completely elsewhere. And the issue is that, for example, at Accents, we tested again, quite hardly expansion to Germany, US, and so on. But these are the most competitive markets, and also the markets are very transactional in terms of what you have to offer. And you need a big backup in terms of funding to be very present there. Therefore, we focus our presence on emerging markets. For example, we are selling in Brazil, in or even more exotic countries. We have we are customers as ministries or institutions in Mozambique or Philippines, and believe me, they have computers there as well, and quite a lot of infrastructure also is present in these types of countries, but people are not thinking about it. Yeah, let's focus on the nearby. And what is important in terms of what's on the table, what markets we can pick up and go towards that direction, is very important to have in mind that with different cultures, business type of models, you need to adapt your approach. So for example, you have Arabic-speaking countries where there is a big preference in on-premise infrastructure, for example, for different reasons. Whereas you can have countries in southern hemisphere of the globe where, for example, there is a scrutiny of air conditioning, limiting building servers inside the companies. You have lack of competence, and then it has consequences. In Poland, we are adapted to the situation that each company, medium size, bigger size, public institution, has its own IT administrators. In or security, someone who at least have some knowledge. In numerous countries, there is no such situation. There's not enough competence. So therefore, the outsourcing companies, multi-service providers have a bigger role because they need to serve quite a lot of companies and they need different solutions. So you need to know if there's countries have on-premise cloud preference, is Windows server or Linux server more preferable, how they make decision, or through local partners, and building the trust is more important. It's ongoing process, but once you have the trust, you can sell whatever. But in other countries, it's different story. So you have to examine those countries, think broadly about the global perspective, and have an adapting strategy. Because, as I said, we were testing numerous options, emerging countries, Mediterraneans, Eastern Europe, South America, further Southeast Asia, and you need to consider your options and strategies for each of those territories. And in terms of cooperations, there are two factors. Cooperations means that in each of these regions, different countries have some economic ties. So you can seek for partners, for example, in Spanish-speaking area, and build a network on that. There are French-speaking countries and cultural networks or British networks of former post-colonial, I would say, traditions. Unfortunately, in Poland, we have a very few connections globally. We need to learn how to build these connections from the scratch. We don't have a long history of capitalism and the market that is going abroad. We have this problem and issue that we are building it from nothing, and we need to build the ties, to know the people in certain markets, and it's very demanding. So on this way, we could cooperate more largely, because if someone already established such a connection, we can try to move and follow that path. And if it happens, and in some business aspects it works. There are some Polish branches in furnitures, in window production, some other elements of food distribution, FMCG products that follow some kind of paths that were already established, but they're maybe competitor, but with ecosystem. In cybersecurity, we need to be more sharing and willing to share this experience and try to build a group of the vendors, companies that try to address some kind of market together. Because doing it alone with no historical background is a harsh initiative, and it would be easier to do it in some kind of cooperation. That's why CyberMed in Poland as a cluster is such a good initiative, but still, obviously, as everyone fights for one single customer, it is difficult to open the mind for cooperation. And yes, we should do it, try to build these connections international, try to maybe learn from other well-established clusters of technologies or VCs or any other who already has that connections, because I see this problem. Too many Polish companies and cybersecurity do everything by their own from very early stage, and you cannot speed up like 100 years of the history of global internationalization.
Ecosystem is the key, right? Thank you very much, Robert, from your insights. Jan, over to you. I would ask you for one thing which we didn't mention before, but it is crucial: intellectual property, because cybersecurity is a technology, so companies creating technology, but question is if startup founders thinking about the intellectual property, especially entering the challenging markets, let's say, in terms of IP. So what would be your advice and why, from your perspective, intellectual property and securing IP is crucial for the startups from the day one?
Yeah, that's very important questions for everyone who want to finding the investment and going abroad. First of all, you have to clear your ownership. That's the first point. I was working on accelerators with startups, and it was always the point. We were trying to find out the third path, how to protect our IP and stand with IP, and finding the VC investors. And VC investors will not spend any penny of dollar on company which haven't had cleared owners of IP. You have to transfer our IP to the company first. You don't have to have some issues with freelancers or universities or other co-founders or something like that. You have to have it clearly on the company. Because investors require it before investor, and also protect IP beyond starting going globally or starting do everything. First of all, you have to protect it or in the first Polish patent office, but if you want to go abroad, you have to use the World Intellectual Property Office, which is launching through the Polish patent office or European patent office if you want to go only on the European markets. It's potentially going about the brand and trademarks, how to protect them, and also the technical invents on going globally, but also that's very important to use NDAs. Everything should be written by NDAs because the know-how and your algorithms, detection engines, and data sets should be protected, and that's the option how to protect it before starting everything. Because without NDs, you can lose your potentially IP. And also there is a lot of potential strategic goals you can manage. For example, you can support programs from Polish Patent Office giving the advisory services, but there is a WUPO SME fund, which for small and middle-size companies getting reimbursement of costs. But also you can find some solutions in PARP, PFR, and NCBR with programs with market entry funding and so on.
Thank you very much. So much things to remember and to do, but still manageable. Thank you very much, Jan. Karel, last but not least, you have the last words in our panel. What I want to ask you is maybe to refer to something that Carlos mentioned before, which means the scalability. And of course, we have a, let's say, Series A, B, C, D. Okay, we have a Series D. What's next? IPO, selling to the bigger one. What would be the best for the European Union, let's say, as a European markets in general, to do after the Series D? What's next? What about the scalability? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, if I may, just touching base on what my other speakers have said. So just addressing the experience, sharing experience, and building upon experience. I think that's exactly one of the things you should be looking for when choosing a VC. So that's where the VC can actually help. That's why it's called smart money and not just money. Because money you can get elsewhere, but you should be very picky about your investors so that they can actually bring the expertise, the previous knowledge, network, and help you in new markets, etc. So that should be the role of a good VC. So that's one thing. The second thing, innovation does not necessarily have to be only about technology. It can, so you may come up with innovative business model, with innovative use cases, with innovative strategy, how you distribute your product. I mean, many different things that can be innovative as well. And here, protecting IP is critical. At the same time, do not overthink the protection, because not everything can be protected. So yes, you should be safe, but at the same time, do not overthink protecting technology itself, bits and pieces of code, because your key know-how might also be in how you actually go to market, how you sell it, whom you work with, how you scale, how you actually deliver en masse. Certain things could work in small scale, and then nobody else has delivered on mass scale or distributed to hundreds of millions of users or distributed to ultra high speed networks and similar. So that's where your unique selling point might be, and that's where you should focus. And then what to do with it? That it depends. It really depends. Sometimes it could be that your company actually scales globally, and as a standalone company, your goal should not be let's have a round B or C or D. Your goal should be let's build a global company. Let's succeed. Because if you succeed, chances are you don't need round B, round C, round D, because you are actually profitable company by then, and you're growing very quickly. Now, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, IPO was the ultimate goal. But back then, I mean, Microsoft went public when it was, what, $50 million in value. Intel, similar. Now, there are private companies that are valued in several $billion value, and they are still private. So it should not be the ultimate goal. So from my perspective, I think there are options for a founder to aim for building a big company beyond raising certain round, beyond going public. It should be build a successful business and build something that you can be happy about and proud of.
That's the great words to end our discussion. Thank you very much, Karel. Thank you very much, all of you. Time flies by. We need to end our conversation, but thank you very much. We have a very unique, different perspective, which is great for us. Hope you enjoyed our panel discussion. Thank you for our panelists. Thank you for our audience. Let's enjoy rest of our event, and hope to see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.